Thank you very much for the warm welcome, for attending at this year's TSBS, also for listening to my presentation, my talk about this hate-love relationship with AI. It's more love than hate. But before starting, I want to know from you, who has used AI before? Please raise your hands. Don't be shy. I don't ask individual follow-up questions. Very nice. Oh, can you explain, please? No, okay. Second question, who uses it frequently? Good. Only very few. Okay, very, very few. Then it is very early in the morning, but who used it today already? Good. Whoa, two. I think only two people in the entire room. I would love to know now, what is your explanation? I think I also used it. Like when you used Google Maps to find the way to here, I think Google used some AI to recommend you the direction. If you were sitting in a train, you were Googling some information, the search provided some suggestions what to search for. That was AI doing it. When you were listening, you went to Spotify during the train ride, and Spotify tells you some recommendations. That's AI. So we use it for already quite a long time, but recently it's getting more and more famous. Let's hear a little bit what AI can bring to the field of sports science.
Hey there, future leaders. Imagine a world where your wildest sci-fi dreams come true. Welcome to the age of artificial intelligence. From revolutionizing healthcare with precision diagnostics to transforming transportation with self-driving cars, AI is reshaping every corner of our lives. Think of it as your personal assistant, but on steroids. Let's dive into some jaw-dropping innovations. First up, AI in education. Picture a classroom where your learning experience is customized just for you. AI-powered tutors that adapt to your needs, helping you ace that next exam. Say goodbye to one-size-fits-all learning. Next, let's talk about smart homes. Ever wished your home could think for you? With AI, your home can adjust the thermostat, order groceries, and even predict when you're running low on essentials. All while you kick back and relax. And the fun doesn't stop there. AI in gaming is taking immersive experiences to a whole new level. Imagine NPCs so intelligent they react and adapt to your every move. Games that learn from you and evolve, making every playthrough unique. But what about creativity? AI isn't just logical, it's also artistic. From composing music to creating stunning visual art, AI is pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Think of it as having a co-creator who never runs out of ideas. Now let's talk sports. AI is revolutionizing the way athletes train and perform. Imagine having a personal coach that analyzes your every move, providing real-time feedback to enhance your performance. Smart wearables track your data, helping you reach peak condition. Coaches and analysts are also leveraging AI to predict game strategies and outcomes. With AI, teams can gain a competitive edge by understanding their opponents better and making data-driven decisions. It's like having a crystal ball for sports. So, are you ready to embrace the future? The era of AI is not just coming, it's already here. And guess what? You have a front row seat to witness history in the making. Stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, the future is now.
Amazing, right? We hear about AI so many times, about everything. It can do everything. It is doing it in a very impressive way. The reason why I wanted to show you this video is not because of what the video is telling us what AI can do. It's because this video was entirely created by an AI tool. Free use. That's also why you had the water print mark. I didn't pay for it. If you do, you get rid of the print, even nicer. About the content of the video, I would in fact be quite critical. I would say not really good. But at the first glimpse, it looks very impressive. It took me like 20 seconds to enter these two prompts to get the video with the audio. And the second one was also necessary, only necessary because I forgot about specifying that I go to a sports conference. So first I was just asking for making a video in the style of a trailer with an English voice, and then I said, focus on some sports application of AI, please. Please, very important. always be polite, also with AI. Because in the future, when they control us, you hope that they treat you also politely, right? So let's see how we can use AI in sports across various different ways of applications. We can use generative AI, which you know from ChatGPT and so on. We can use AI to personalize tools, to automate processes. We can use it in motion capture, where we will hear probably something today. We can use it for tactical analysis, like tracking position players. AI tools can give us analysis, what to do next. We can combine it with wearables. Wearable systems that collect information. Based on the information, AI tools may give us specific recommendations. Or for injury risk assessment, which colleagues and I currently do using an AI model in video analysis, and then we can recommend stuff about whether athletes should go back to the field or if they have increased injury risk. Stuff like this. So many different applications. One I want to focus on today is a little bit generative AI, and then later also about motion capture. Generative AI, you know from ChatGPT, right? And you think about it, it is using text. And also you are using text. But it's not only about text, we also saw it can generate audio, video, pictures. And it's not only about generating the export, it's also about the import. You can give ChatGPT pictures, video, audio, and then the generative AI is doing something with it. So I think most of the time we don't use the full capacity right now. And one student of mine, he had a good idea, I think an interesting one, to use ChatGPT, the Pro version 4.0, as a yoga teacher. So he was a yoga practitioner. He took some pictures of his own form, and he was uploading the pictures and asking for recommendations. The pose in particular was the Warrior 1 pose. This is some pictures from Google to know how it looks like. And he entered a text. That was literally the text he entered. He wanted text and visual feedback. He wanted that ChatGPT fixes all the problems in a very detailed way, including customized instructions. And he wanted a correct versus wrong comparison, visual comparison through pictures, with a similar background like in the original image. And he informed ChatGPT that the person's form, his form, could be perfect and correct. It could have some individual preferences, or it could be simply wrong. That was the text input. In addition, he uploaded pictures. On the left side, we saw he did this multiple times. On the left side, we see a picture where he lifted his heel, well, had no ground contact. On the right side, same form with the heel touching the ground. And number 2 is a combination of the two. Number 3 is heel is off the ground, and he provided in addition a 3D model in order to check if it is maybe difficult for ChatGPT to analyze the real picture. So let's see the output. 3 out of these 4 tests failed to identify the pose even. So it was talking and showing about a completely different pose. Not useful. And then even if we see the test number 2, where it depicted the right pose, the Warrior 1 pose, we cannot even identify based on the symbols which is the right version, which is the wrong version. And also the way how the pose is displayed, not really very helpful. So he was running the same thing again. This was not very helpful, because every time generative AI generates something new, it's a gamble of chances. So maybe next time it works a little bit better. Not really. 2 out of the 4 tests still not able to detect the pose. So talking about something completely different. Test 2 and test 4 at least shows a variation of the Warrior 1 pose. So that's already a small win, let's say. The feedback itself was not very helpful. We can at least see which is the correct form, which is the incorrect form, but both were not very helpful. Like if we see this one here, the test 4, the correct version does not look very correct, right? This is not how the warrior 1 pose should look like. This looks more like a warrior who wanted to hug his opponent and then get stabbed from behind. Also not what we want. Not very good. So this was still not very satisfying. He tried something different. What he tried now is he told ChatGPT what is the posture. It was a warrior 1 pose. So now with this information, still asking for the same thing, visual feedback, correct versus incorrect posture, let's see what he got here. At least the pose is correct. It's a warrior 1 pose. It looks nice at the first look. But let's think a little bit about how helpful this is as a feedback. So what would be the important takeaways from such a picture? I think not too many valuable things. First, and this one is really valuable, you can see on the left side, the correct alignment, you can see squared hips and shoulders. So the hips and the shoulders are square, front, not rotated outwards. In the incorrect version, it is rotated, not squared. That is really helpful and kind of impressive. The second point, the second difference is the arms. But I think in the warrior 1 pose, in the version he showed, he had not his arm down there. So suggesting that this would be correct is a little bit confusing. Then maybe not important for what is correct or not correct, but it seems like practicing in front of a Myanmar temple seems always look good. Next, very important difference, wearing shorts to have a correct form, not the long pants. And then the biggest difference and most important, wear a backpack that is glued to your back without straps on the left side. Then it's a correct form. If you use the straps, as you see on the right side, it is an infrequent alignment. Not good, that's not what we want. So you can see not all of these points were very serious. The first one, really good, really helpful. The rest, everything the picture shows us, not very meaningful. So he gave it another shot. One more try, still not very satisfying. Same instruction, asking for the picture, same input. You need to be very strong now. This is not getting much better. This was the output. Very clearly we can see that on the right one, the incorrect one, we would know that without ChatGPT, that if we dislocate our hip joint and rotate our back, our leg 180 degrees backwards, that this is not very healthy and not good posture. All the rest is also not very helpful. What are my critical concerns about it? First of all, we have on the left side a correct version with critical comments. This itself already doesn't make much sense. Like, how can you show something that is supposed to be correct and then pointing out all the things that are wrong in the correct version? Doesn't make any sense. Second, the comments in the incorrect form, they address body parts that are identical in the correct version. Like if you take a look at the shoulders, the head, the chest, all these things look identical. So you don't learn anything from the comparison. And then finally, the comments refer to body parts that have nothing to do with the comment itself. For example, here, the hips are showing to the shoulders. And here the comment front knee has an error at the head. So also not helpful at all. So he tried something completely different. Not the visual feedback, but asking for text-based feedback. Same input, same information for ChatGPT, asking for text feedback. Then it was able to detect the right pose. So same input, just asking for a different way of output. Now it's able to detect the pose. And it's even able to detect the back heel was lifted. That is really good. That is quite impressive, I think. It also provided customized feedback. In particular, very interesting, a correction for the hips or the lower torso, slightly tuck the tailbone to prevent overarching the lower back. This is not easy to spot, I think, at the picture. For the test 4, that was the different input, the different picture where the heel was not lifted, was touching the ground. Again, it detected the pose correctly, very good. And it detected something else that I think is also very interesting. In this version, the hips were not squared anymore. That was something that the student didn't even intend. But if you compare, in the test 1, the hips were squared. Test 4, they have not been squared anymore. So a very subtle difference, was not even intended. In the test 1, ChatGPT was not pointing it out. In test 4, yes. So indeed, it is customized feedback. Quite good. So overall, what can we conclude from it? The visual feedback didn't work at all. Like, it was not helpful. Most of the times, it didn't even recognize the pose correctly. The text-based feedback was quite promising. Even right now, I think it could be helpful. And that was an interesting finding, especially because the input was the same. So it's kind of strange, right, that only because you ask for a different output, in the one way, ChatGPT is not able to recognize the post, and in the other one, it is. So the other thing we can talk about, and it's very interesting probably for most biomechanics, is motion capture. And AI can bring a couple of benefits here. Why is it popular? Is it really good? Will it be the future? Will it be good in the future? These are some of the questions I want to discuss and give some ideas how to answer them. The quick answers from me are, yeah, it's popular because it's easy, fast, practical, cheap. Not everything, of course, but some solutions. Is it good? Some are. Not everything is. Maybe not yet everything. Will it be the future? I think so, because for these convenient and beneficial reasons. Will it be good in the future? This depends on us and what we do out of it. And after, in 10 minutes or something, you will have hopefully a better idea why I get to these answers. Let's take a look first what a relatively new, it was released 1 year ago, one camera system is able to do. Only one camera, 3D, looks good, very impressive in a way. So we can capture any sort of motions in 2D, in 3D, very simple, very often. It could be an alternative to traditional systems using markers, which are very complex. They are accurate, they are like gold standard, but complex systems. So this alternative using AI is very interesting because of reduced complexity for movies, video games, metaverses where we need live transformation. So we want to have simplified processing and fast processing. The question is how interesting they are currently or in the future for research or clinical application where we need high accuracy. And this brings me to the first maybe problem, is accuracy in AI-based motion capture systems. Nuanced movements, multi-joint movements, and especially movements at distal segments are sometimes, often not very accurate. Also covered body parts, but this is also a problem with marker-based systems, of course. These problems are temporary. So they can improve, and they will improve, for sure. But this improvement needs to be demanded. And this brings me to questionable validation studies. And I think this is where it depends on us, how we interact with the industry, how we run validation studies and so on, how we adopt findings from validation studies, because there may be sometimes conflict of interests when it comes to validation studies. There may be biases, so we tend to, for example, we want to use a system because it is convenient. We validate it, we try to validate it, and then we may want to select beneficial, positive, good findings in order to justify we can use the system. Then we may accept errors that we would not accept if we were not biased. Things like these can happen. And the most obvious thing is inappropriate statistical analysis, which we still find very often, and the best example is correlation analysis for something, for data that should agree. And I lecture about this, but in a nutshell, correlation is not an appropriate tool to reflect agreement. These two lines show different data points. If these lines come from different systems, no one would say that the system A is capturing the same data as system B, but we have a perfect correlation. So just to indicate, correlation as a validation tool is not suitable if we want to obtain accurate, exact agreement. So we need to be critical about validation studies, and only then we need to demand for better quality, for higher accuracy. This is important, otherwise the improvement will stop sooner than we wish. The second problem is the nature of AI, which is AI learns based on data. It's a training process. The training quality depends on the quality of the data. Basically, it learns something based on previous information, then it receives current information, new input, and then it applies the knowledge, what it has learned previously, onto the new data. And it generates new data this way. And why is this a little bit problematic? Because this is not measurement in its nature, it's estimation. Similar to a regression, where you build a regression based on previous data, you find a pattern, you find a relationship, and then you apply what you have learned to new data to make a prediction. That is estimation. Is this in general bad? No, not at all, because a prediction and estimation can be highly, highly accurate. But we need to check the accuracy, and we need to be aware of this and consider it in the right usage and interpretation of the data. And one case I heard like 2 years ago, where I heard a speech, someone was proposing a one-camera system, claiming it was able to measure full 3D, including the surface of the background of the body. In other words, one camera, and the one camera could tell me from front what is written on the back on my jacket. And obviously, that is nonsense. That is estimation based on what the system has learned, what is likely to be on the back. And maybe that depends on the color of the suit, or who knows. But it is not a measurement of what is actually going on the backside. So this is exactly the problem we may face if we apply things inappropriately. Good. So it is, or it can be, easy, fast, practical, cheap. Just imagine you just use a smartphone or 2 iPhones for open cap measurements. You don't need to be in the lab. Super practical, super convenient, extremely helpful. Is it good? Not everything. Partly very impressive already, but not everything and not for all applications. So be aware of premature and inappropriate, incorrect application. Will it be the future? Yes, because it is data and learning based. It will improve, but it needs good data for good improvement and critical assessment. And will it be good in the future? That depends on us. It depends on the standards that we set and how we do validation studies, how we accept validation studies, how we are pushing forward for more quality. So this being said, I think the future of AI in sports science is exciting. It is extremely promising. It is able to help us very much. But we should be, especially in the development stage, we should be critical. We should be skeptical, in particular about validation studies. And we need to reflect on how to apply findings, how to use the systems, and to what degree we can transfer application and the value of findings and where are limitations. So thank you very much everyone for attending and for contributing to our field right now and in the future. Thank you.